Good morning, and welcome to the Motivational Devotion, where we are merging motivation and spirituality to create a daily dose of confident positivity. I hope that this morning's podcast will help you to be more spiritually and positively motivated so that you can transform your day. It's autumn. It seems like we went from very warm summer days to instantly having lows in the 40s. It wasn't much of a transition, but then we also didn't go from days in the 80s directly to snow, so at least there's that. The normal way of things is for it to be a more or less gradual transition of cooler days and nights. Autumn and spring give us that time of transition so that the change isn't such a sudden shock. Life is usually like that. Unless a person wins a lottery or a big win on a game show, people don't usually go instantly from poverty to wealth. A person doesn't get an idea for a business, either brick and mortar or an online store, and the next week find themselves in the Fortune 500 from it. Effort, time, losses, and success compile to make up that transition, and it takes time for the person to become someone who can manage the increased responsibilities, financial requirements, money management, and now here's the biggie, see themselves as a person living in a whole new way of living so that the results aren't a shock, they're an expectation. If a person is vastly out of shape and gets winded fighting the current when the bathtub drains, what should he or she expect if they try to run a marathon? But if that person trained little by little, increasing stamina and physical conditioning over time, unless there is an underlying incurable disease process, that person can get to where the marathon is doable. And again, finishing isn't a shock at that point. It's an expectation. Statistics show that most people who win a lottery file bankruptcy within 5 years afterward. They didn't get the necessary transition to move them into a state of mind of being the person who creates that lifestyle instead of someone who had it dropped into their lap. Transitions are critical to the human process. Transitions can work a negative process too, like when we gradually fall into entropy and we slowly allow things to decay all around us. We get to a point where we would have found it unacceptable, but because we got there through a transition, we didn't recognize the change. Life gets a little harder and we give up effort a little at a time to the point that we might be that person who couldn't even fight the current in the bathtub. I help people like this all the time, and I've heard many times that they sure didn't expect to ever be at that point and for life to be like that. I smile and tell them that life throws us curveballs and we don't always see things coming, but that's because I'm nice. I don't believe in kicking a person when they're down. The truth is, though, that we do choose to get to a point like that if we don't choose to implement our own transitions that move us where we want to be. If we aren't tough on ourselves and living out our purpose, the world will be tougher on us as our purpose gets further out of reach. To me, the most totally profound and cool thing about this principle is that we can create transitions, and in fact, we must create our transitions. We can intentionally start changing from that state of entropy to the highest and best for all concerned, and we can start those transitions at any point. You can pick one and start a transition right now. We can lose weight by making one better diet choice or one choice to move more right now. We can be more forgiving by making one choice to hear a person out before jumping down their throat. We can become anything, and that means anything, if we are willing to endure enough transitions and endure transitions that may take years or even decades. We just have to remember two things. One, it is a transition, not a sudden jump to light speed, so it will be gradual. We must be patient. Two, because it is a transition, we must not get caught up in temporary transitional circumstances. If you got into a boat to cross from one side of a river to the other, and you could hear water plants brushing under the hull, you wouldn't reach down and try to pull them all out as you went by, would you? And you wouldn't complain about them making all that noise while you floated over, would you? I wouldn't think so. And we also should do the same thing when we intentionally make transitions in life. People who complain, circumstances that threaten to wear us down, setbacks that make us want to believe we will never make progress are all just plants brushing by the hull as you make your transition. So make your change. Pick what you want and start your transition. Be patient. With all of creation conspiring in your favor, you will receive inner guidance for your transition, and then you really can trust that the universe really does have your back. Priyanka Chopra said, "Any transition is easier if you believe in yourself and your talent." Thank you for taking the time to listen today. Please help keep this podcast going by following the Motivational Devotional Facebook page, following @Threefold Way Radio on Twitter, and sharing the written format of today's message from motivational-devotional.com on your social media. I am deeply grateful for your support, and thank you for letting Motivational Devotional be part of your journey. Peace out. See you tomorrow. Motivational Devotional is a production of Threefold Way Radio, LLC.